Thank you, everybody, for joining. Hi, my name is Ellie Burke. I'm the content and SEO manager here at Campsot. I'm really excited for this talk today. We have an awesome presentation being shared with us, but with Doug to help with any last minute prep ideas for the fast approaching April 8th total solar eclipse. I actually had a nightmare last night that my kids viewed it without safety glasses, Doug. So if that tells you how much I've been thinking about the eclipse. Doug has previously presented on this topic with us in the fall, where we discussed a longer timeline of how to prepare and what it was all about. So if you attended any of those sessions, today's going to be a little more focused on what to do, given that the event is only 2 months away. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce everybody to Douglas Arian. He's the executive director of Mountains of Stars, which is an organization offering astronomy-based programs and activities to help people better understand their connection to the environment. He's also a professor emeritus of physics and astronomy at Carthage College, as well as the co-founder of Galileoscope, which you'll hear a little bit more about today. So thank you so much for joining us, Doug. We're just really excited to get ready for this event. So I'll pass the mic over to you.
Well, thanks very much, Ellie, and good morning, everybody. This is a tremendous opportunity, and we want to make that available to you. And so let me give you as much information as I can here about this eclipse and how you can prepare for it. Let's see, there we are. One of the big things that everybody does when they're going camping or RVing is they want to be out in the natural environment. That's a big part of it, is getting out of the city wherever they are and enjoying wildlife, hiking, fishing, paddling, nice campfire, and so on. But one of their major things that they can also do is enjoy the sky, because as you know from cities, light pollution is so bad that nobody can see stars. In fact, believe it or not, 80% of the population of the world cannot see stars. And it's getting worse. We've actually had a paper published this past year that says that sky brightness is increasing by 10% a year. So, Ellie, by the time your kids are our age, they may not see stars at all, which would be a very sad thing.
That's so upsetting.
But this eclipse is a tremendous opportunity, actually, to get people reconnected with the sky. So there's a tremendous benefit to this, besides the business benefits to all of your campgrounds and parks. Is getting people reconnected with that part of nature, as well as things like raccoons and bird life. Now, oops, here we go. So astrotourism is a very, very big deal. This is a great thing that you can benefit from. And the eclipse is a tremendous launch pad. So using this eclipse as a way to start building an astrotourism business. This is not just a one-shot deal of a few minutes in the afternoon of April 8th, and then it goes away and never happens again. This is guess what? We can come here, we can experience this eclipse. And wow, your facility is a really nice place to go, get connected with the sky. And it's a whole new population of people that you can be drawing in. So we see this as really a much bigger thing than just the idea of being prepared for this once-in-a-lifetime event. So I want to emphasize that for you, that there really is a business in astrotourism, and we want you to take advantage of that. There are two books here, one called Astrotourism by Marlin, and a whole Dark Skies guide that was put in that talks about places to go to be able to do this, and you can certainly become visible there. One thing I want to mention very quickly right here, the leading organization for doing dark sky work is Dark Sky International. Darksky.org is the website. They've just launched recently a dark sky certified lodging program. So if you have a lodging facility where you have controlled your lighting, you can actually get a certification, and that gets you marketing and promotion. It goes on their databases of places to go. It's a nice gold star you can put up, and you can market and promote. There's a new program we're starting with them specifically for campgrounds and RV parks. So there are going to be some real opportunities in astrotourism through darksky.org. So I urge you to both look at that site, become involved with them, because that's going to be a big step for you in building your astrotourism business. So the eclipse, the biggest opportunity for connecting astrotourism pretty much ever, and certainly for an awful long time into the future. and we want to get you prepared for it. So I'll quickly go through what's happening and why this is such a big deal. As the Earth goes around the sun, moon goes around the Earth, periodically those orbits line up and the moon shadow hits the Earth and blocks out the sun. This does not happen very often, and one reason is the moon shadow isn't very big. It's about 100 miles across when it hits the Earth, and you have to be within that little 100-mile spot to see it. And this is to scale here. So here's a really remarkable thing. The moon is about 2,200 miles across and is 240,000 miles away. So it's 110 times farther away than its own size. The sun is 864,000 miles across and 92 million miles away, so it's 110 times farther away than its size. And that's why the moon and the sun look to be the same size in the sky. That is a complete coincidence. It's totally remarkable that the moon is just the right size to blot out the sun. That's wicked cool. That's an amazing thing. So when you see this diagram here, if you're in the gray area, that larger shadow, you can sneak some sunlight past the moon. So the moon's covering part of the sun. But if you're in that inner shadow, that's called the umbra, that's where the sun is totally covered up. Now, this simulation here will show you why this doesn't happen very often. And it's because even though the moon and the Earth have similar orbits, they don't quite lie in the same plane. They're a little tilted, okay? So this is the moon going around the Earth month after month after month, and you'll see that here, when the moon is between the Earth and the sun, it's actually a little bit below us, so the shadow doesn't hit us. But you go 3 months later, and lo and behold, now they line up, the shadow crosses the Earth, and we get an eclipse. And in fact, this simulation right here is what happened in 2017. So if you remember the 2017 eclipse, that's exactly what happened. Now, the other thing you'll notice, if you look at this carefully, is that the moon's orbit isn't completely round, right? It's a little elliptical. So sometimes it's a little farther away, and sometimes it's a little closer. Oops, got to do that. There we go. And so this past October, you may have remembered that we had an annular eclipse. And that's because at the time that it lined up, the moon was a little too far away and it was a little smaller than the sun. So we had this ring of fire, a ring of fire eclipse. That's a really sexy thing to see. I was out in New Mexico for it. Many people travel for it. It's absolutely spectacular. But it's not half as spectacular as a total eclipse. So on April 8th, Monday, April 8th, that moon shadow is going to cross the United States again, and we'll have a total eclipse. So a couple of key things to note here. Firstly, this will be 2 total eclipses in 7 years. The last time there was a total eclipse that touched the United States was 1979. My guess is some of you were not born yet in 1979. Okay. And it barely clipped the Pacific Northwest. So we haven't had a really good cross-the-country eclipse in a very, very long time. And as I'll tell you later, the next one that will touch the United States is not for another 21 years. So take your current age, add 21 to it, and that's how old you'll be the next time there's one there. Now, I'm in New England, and I'm doing a lot of work throughout New England. I'm giving these talks 2-3 times a week throughout here to get people prepared. The next one touching New England isn't until 2079. So the fact that we have one that is crossing a lot of the United States and is crossing a lot of metro areas and a lot of accessible areas, which is what makes this such a great opportunity for all of you, is something you don't want to miss. But in parallel with that, understand that everywhere from Central America up to, but not quite including Western Alaska, will see some of the sun covered. So there is an eclipse experience no matter where you are. Okay, so even if you have a campground and you're in North Dakota, you're pretty far from that eclipse path. People aren't going to be coming there to see the total eclipse, but people will be coming there and you're still going to have an eclipse experience. So there's something you can do no matter where you are. If you are within that path, that stripe you see, the April 8th path, that is the only area where you will see the sun completely covered up. People don't quite understand that if they're just outside to say, well, it's 99%. Well, that means 99% of the sun is covered up, 1% isn't, and it's not total. So you have to be in that path. That means if you have a campground or park that is in that path, you just won the Powerball, the Mega Millions, everything, right? Because you're right in there, okay? If you are nearby it, within 100 miles of that path, you matched 5 of the 6 numbers on your Powerball, or whatever the number is, because you're within a couple hours drive, which means you can attract people to stay at your campground who will then travel into the Eclipse path for the eclipse itself. So there's a tremendous opportunity. You don't have to be like right on the center line. Anywhere near there is going to be a great business opportunity for you. And this is what you get to see. At totality, the moon covers up the sun. The atmosphere of the sun, called the corona, comes out. It is absolutely the most mind-bogglingly beautiful thing you will ever see. The sky goes black. The animals go to sleep. The birds go to roost. The temperature drops. It's a tremendous experience. So one concern you folks probably have is, what happens if the weather is bad? So the first thing I'm going to tell you is people are going to come anyway. Okay, you can't gamble on the weather being good or being bad. People will make a reservation. They're going to show up. If the weather isn't great, guess what? The sky's still going to go dark. The animals are still going to go to sleep. The birds are still going to go to roost. The temperature's still going to drop. You'll have all of that. The only thing is you won't get to see this, which, okay, that's a disappointment. And people may be disappointed, but they're not going to be upset. It's just, this is what happens when you go to a natural phenomenon and the weather doesn't turn out to be great. In parallel with that, whether the weather is good or not, whether you're in the path or not, NASA and the Exploratorium are doing a live web feed. So there are telescopes all along the eclipse path from Mexico all the way to Canada, and they will be showing the eclipse with commentary. So no matter where you are, you should have a screen set up and a computer, streaming that feed so people can get excited about it all day long, experience it where they are. And if the weather isn't good, they're still getting to see it. They'll still experience the effects of totality. They'll still see the eclipse courtesy of that live feed. So take advantage of that. There's also a whole series of citizen science programs that you can get connected with and have people do stuff. There's one on soundscapes, actually, to record what sounds you hear during the eclipse, because that talks about which bird species go to sleep when. And people are actually very interested in this. There's a big national effort on there. So people will travel for this, and they will spend significant money to do it. So this is the group I led to Idaho in 2017. I'm leading a group to Texas for 2024. People signed up. I listed my trip 2 years ago. It was sold out in a week. So if you have a facility and you have any space at all on April 8th, you will sell it. And you can sell it for a premium if you're in or near that path. Because I'm already hearing from people who are like, oh, I started looking around for things. Turns out everything's booked. And I'm like, do you know what the phrase "I told you so" means? Yes. Okay. So if you have lodging available, you have space. If you have random spaces, I understand occupancy limits from the fire department, but if you have areas where other people, where you can double up spaces or provide more spaces, or even just make your facility available on eclipse day, because you have power and bathrooms, and food available, and you allow people to come in and, for $25 a person and $20 a car, they can come in and just use your space, make money that way, because you're probably located in a good area and you have facilities. So take advantage of that while you're there. So this is a huge opportunity. We want you to take advantage of it. People have been promoting this for a long time. Travel Mart put out a report on what was going to happen here. The U.S. Department of Transportation predicts that April 8th, 2024 will be the single largest travel day in the history of the United States. So there's a tremendous opportunity here. This report came out. This was the first edition of Fortune magazine after the 2017 eclipse. So this was the next week, the next major issue. First thing they did was talk about, hey, let's look how lodging did. Lodging made a lot of money. This is a great opportunity for you. The eclipse that year was on August 21st. On August 22nd, this is the next day, this site was already putting up, where should you go in 2024? That's how big a deal this is, okay? So we want you to take advantage of that. Okay, things that you would, could, or should do. One of the things that happens with eclipses, and this was very big in 2017, is they're a lot like football games. People show up slowly, they, tailgate, get excited about it. And then as soon as it's over, everybody wants to leave. And that's a huge traffic problem. So a trip in Wyoming that normally takes an hour and a half to get from Cheyenne back down into Colorado was taking 10 to 11 hours. So here's a thing you can do that's to everybody's benefit, where you can partner with your towns or just at your facility, hold some kind of festival, have a farmer's market, have cocoa and fireworks, have a band, do something and charge for it, by the way, make money off of it, but it will help slow down the exodus of people. And that slowing down is actually to their benefit to keep them out of traffic. It's to your benefit because you don't have people jammed through your facility. And it's an opportunity to make more revenue. So believe it or not, Mena, Arkansas, this is from a year and a half ago. This site was already talking about their Solar Eclipse Festival, where they're going to have, a zip line set up. I don't know, but apparently that's going to be one of those things that people will stick around for to spread that out. Swag, all sorts of swag. The hat in the lower left there, Cleveland has been selling those for the last 2 years, and people are buying them up. The beer stein there, I survived the second Great American Eclipse, had to go through this twice. Those sold. We've created a specific New Hampshire logo, for example, because again, I'm in New Hampshire helping that prepare. You can create your special Eclipse logos. T-shirts. I have like 9 trillion T-shirts at home, but when I was in Stanley, Idaho in 2017, there was one that was just so good I had to buy it, and it said, I blacked out in Stanley, Idaho, and the date and stuff. It was just so cute. But the point is, I spent $20 for a T-shirt that couldn't have cost them more than $3 to make. So you can be doing that kind of thing. So the most important website for this is the special site put up by the American Astronomical Society, and it's just eclipse.aas.org. And of the many things that are here, if you go to the Eclipse America, drop down, select the April eclipse, you can get detailed maps of exactly where that path is. You click on any location, it will tell you to the nearest tenth of a second, believe it or not, when it starts, when totality starts, or how deep the eclipse is if it's not total. All that information so that you can quickly figure out, okay, here's our location, what are the eclipse conditions there, what's nearby, and you can get that. The resources that are available here include all sorts of license-free graphics and videos. So if you want to start making up a banner that you can hang over your entry that has a big image of the eclipse on it, or an eclipse sequence or something, those images are all up here and they're license free. You can use them, don't have to pay anybody for it, don't have to get any permissions for it. The same with videos. So you can grab that stuff, start putting it on your website now. On your website, you can have just a little, video thing running about the eclipse, and in your welcome banner, hey, we're in the eclipse path, or we're near the eclipse path, or we're going to do a great eclipse thing, even though we're not near the eclipse path. You can be putting that up and using the materials here. In addition, there are sites listed here where you can acquire eclipse materials. So it is very important that people wear safe solar glasses to watch the partial phases of the eclipse. Do not buy them from Amazon. Do not buy them from eBay. There were a lot of counterfeit glasses sold in 2017, and they were sneaky. They even put the ISO number on it. This is safe number on there, and they are not. So make sure
This is why I'm having nightmares, Doug.
Excuse me?
This is why I'm having nightmares.
Right, exactly.
My kids
yeah.
wearing counterfeit glasses.
Exactly. But if you go to I forget which menu it's in here, but you go to the menu here, it has a list of validated vendors where you can purchase Eclipse glasses. And when it comes to buying anything, Eclipse glasses or swag, you need to do it now. Believe it or not, next week's Valentine's Day. We're in the middle of February. We are less than 2 months out. We're 7 weeks out. And that means you need to order now, both because of the inventories are going to be depleted in various places, shipping time. You want to know that you have them. So I urge you to make your purchases now. So this is an example of that Eclipse map with the detailed locations for everything. So here, for example, I've selected a location here, and this gives you exactly what time everything happens, where in the sky you're going to look, how much of the sun is covered, and so on. So again, here's the reputable vendors of solar filters and viewers. That's right off their website. In addition, there are some reports there where you can learn about how to prepare. So a lot of the things I'm already telling you are in there, like traffic control. If you're going to have people coming, depending on where you are in April, if you're someplace south, looks like a typical April day. We were looking at preparations in upstate New York, for example, where there's a lot of park area. It's a great area to be. The problem is it's still cold. The ground's frozen. So guess what? The restrooms in the parks are not open because you can't have flowing water. So it's like, oh, you need porta potties. So if you're in the Eclipse path and your water isn't turned on yet, you need to plan for that. Safety issues and so on. So that's all discussed there. There are official posters. We already have the Ring of Fire Eclipse, the first poster there, but the one to the far right, that's the official US poster for the Eclipse. It's printable from the AAS website. You can print those out, put them up, sell them. You could print them up and sell them. That's perfectly legitimate. Again, it's license-free material that you can use. Okay. I'd like to talk about one particular thing that was mentioned earlier, which is something called the Galileo scope. So Rick Feinberg of the American Astronomical Society and I developed this telescope kit actually 15 years ago for the International Year of Astronomy because we wanted everybody to have an inexpensive, high-quality telescope. And the problem is there was inexpensive or there was high quality, but there wasn't inexpensive, high quality. And so we volunteered our time and our money to do this. And believe it or not, there are almost 300,000 of these being used in 110 countries around the world now. It is the very best introductory telescope. And we now have it with safe solar filters that you can watch the sun anytime, and of course, the eclipse, using these telescope kits. They're available through our site, which I'll give you all this information before we're done here. But this is a great retail opportunity because you should buy a bunch and resell them. They are insanely inexpensive, frankly. The kit, which includes all the solar stuff, if you buy them by 100 and up, they're only $35 a piece, which, I mean, you can't touch that for anything that actually has good optics. And it's the kind of thing that your customers will continue to use. There are also tripods available, or just the solar filters if somebody has a telescope already. So it's a screaming deal. Again, you need to order now so that they can be shipped to you. But it's a tremendous retail opportunity for you to give your clients something really useful that they can keep and use afterwards. But really, there's no other product like it that will let them enjoy the eclipse that same way. So we hope you've gotten going here and are starting to prepare things, that you have your special eclipse deals worked out. You can have a separate rate for that weekend. You can have a multi-night minimum. You'd like to do your promo using some of those AAS materials, so you have Eclipse stuff on your site. Hopefully, through Campsot, I mean, they've done tremendous work. We've had some articles in their, your magazine that comes out. They've been putting it up on their website. Their website includes a list of some of your facilities that are in the path, state by state. And of course, if you can identify that you're near the path, I think that's something that could be promoted, that it's like, okay, you can't be in the path, they're all taken, but you can only be 30 miles outside the path, drive an hour, and be on the center line. And those would be things to promote. So make sure this information gets out there.
Awesome. I can speak a little bit to these slides, Doug, if that's helpful.
Yes. Awesome. All this is incredibly helpful for everybody to follow all those things. So these are resources that Ellie and Campsot have put together, strategy for it. As I said, there's a page on their site that's already listing some of your facilities that are within the path. I think that's tremendous promotion. Everything you can do to get that visibility They have a guide on how to put your reservations together specifically for it. I think Campspot's done a better job than any organization. I'll say that honestly. I'm working with so many across the country of really
Oh,
giving you the resources and materials
thank
to be
you.
prepared for
Thank you,
this.
Doug. If you back up a couple slides, Doug, I can speak to a couple more points for those. These screenshots right here, the sample timeline, these are taken from our How to Sell Reservations for the 2024 Total Eclipse PDF, and that was linked on that next slide. And so this, really showcases the ideal timeline had you started several months ago. But as far as what to focus on today, to kind of like summarize what Doug was describing, really just like coming up with that event and your retail model, your idea, if you're going to bring someone in, a guest speaker, an expert, a concert for a viewing party, just identifying that and then opening up your inventory ASAP, even if you're not normally open in this time of year and you're in the north. As Doug described, this awesome opportunity can benefit you, even if you decide to close and then wait until your normal season to start. And then just promoting it. And so that's what this timeline walks through with these slides. We're going to, in the next slide, there is a link to that PDF specifically, and we'll include that link in the recap email that goes out to everyone who attended today with the recording. And then I just wanted to call out that if you are a Campspot customer, please shoot us an email at marketing@campspot.com, and we're going to send you this step-by-step checklist. This checklist goes through things like activating dynamic pricing, requiring a 2-night stay, creating promotions specifically in the product, and we'll make sure that you have those materials. But otherwise, there's these links here that Doug described on the left, some related blog materials, and that free guide. So something for everybody, and we're really excited to help everyone get prepared and set up. So thank you all for joining. Doug, anything else that you would add? Or Michelle's on the phone here too.
There's a lot of resources on our program site, which is mountainsofstars.org. So please take advantage of that. And if you go to the Galileoscope page, which is galileoscope.org, you can get a lot of information on those kits. Again, I think the biggest thing for you to do, as Ellie mentioned, is get your program set, get your pricing set, and get your stuff in now, whether it's getting t-shirts printed, baseball caps, wristbands, Galileoscope kits, Eclipse glasses. I think this is a real opportunity to leverage this, and then from this talk about the long-term astrotourism options. After people come in for this, be prepared right then to be talking about hey, and remember to come back here and enjoy our night skies, and build that astrotourism business, because you'll get a lot of new customers using this Eclipse as the launch pad.
Doug, do you think there's anything that campgrounds should do to help educate campers coming in about the traffic and logistic problems that could be happening? I know my son's school already canceled school for the day because they don't want buses on the roads. You mentioned like adding some components to the event. Should we be talking about that with campers directly to help them understand, like, hey, like enjoy some extra time here because you don't want to be on the roads right now?
Yes, and I think that the biggest things that they can do, firstly, is contact your town or city that's nearby. Certainly, if you're in the Eclipse path, they will be, or should have been, or hopefully will work on a plan for traffic that day. Your town may already be saying, so for example, here in New Hampshire, we've talked about taking one of our major roads and making it northbound only, and a road across the river on the Vermont side being southbound only. So we at least have 2 lanes in each direction, for example. You may find that your towns have done some of those things. So find out what your town is doing, and then utilize that information. Certainly, if you're on a route and there's going to be a traffic issue, then you're in a great position to, in your promotions. And by the way, avoid the post-eclipse traffic and come to our XYZ event. For an additional $10, you can come to the barbecue and fireworks. Turn it into a positive, as opposed to, gee, the traffic's going to be bad. We don't want you to be miserable. It's like, hey, why don't you avoid the traffic and come to our concert? Avoid the traffic and go to whatever. So use that as a motivation to build some of these other opportunities. So yeah, I think, finding out
Awesome.
what specifics are in your area. So if you have to direct people on a particular route, you can provide that information, but then use that and say, hey, avoid the post eclipse traffic and
Hmm.
hang out with us and time or whatever, and use that as a marketing ploy, I think would be a good thing to do.
Awesome. And can you remind us if a campground wants to work with a local astronomy group or, try to bring in an expert to maybe speak to kind of what's happening in the moment, what are the best resources to find those people near them?
That's a really great question. So there's a great way to do that. So firstly, there are local astronomy clubs all over the country. And there's a group called the Astronomical League, and I think it's just astroleague.org is their site. And on their site is a directory of astronomy clubs. So you can just go right to their site, go to that directory. I don't think you need a login or anything for it. And you can just find astronomy clubs that are near you. And certainly, this is a great opportunity to horse trade and tell somebody, hey, look, we'll give you a campsite for the weekend if you'll come and bring telescopes and do things for our guests. I mean, it's basically, a small amount of lost revenue for that in exchange for the fact that you're raising the rates on all the other sites for people to come in. And again, you can promote and say, hey, and on Eclipse Day, so-and-so from the Kalamazoo Astronomy Club is going to be here with telescopes to tell you about this. Same thing with local colleges and universities. Check with your local colleges and universities. Many of them have astronomy programs, and there'll be a faculty member who can come over. And actually, I think this is even more particularly valuable if you're not in or near the eclipse path, right? You're in North Dakota or Wyoming or, someplace where the people from those schools aren't going to be, dealing with with totality. They're going to be like, I can watch it partial from campus, or I can go over to your campground and do, a great thing for the public there. Come over there and set up a telescope for them. So I think that's a tremendous resource. So definitely reach out to your local colleges and universities and just say, hey, we have a campground. We'd be interested in having somebody come, would somebody be willing to do that? And it might be a faculty member, it might be a grad student, who really knows his or her stuff and can set up an instrument and share that with people. That would be a tremendous benefit. And again, a draw. You can put in your promotion materials. And somebody from, such and such university will be here to guide you through the eclipse. Fantastic, marketing opportunity plus a benefit to your guests.
Love it. Throw in some hot chocolate and I'm there. It sounds
Yeah,
great, at
absolutely.
least up north.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, I've shared a link in the chat for anyone who wants to grab it to check if you're in the path of totality. The same link that Doug was sharing. We will be, like I said, sharing like a recap of the recording as well as any of the handy links that were in here. So we'll make sure that's easily accessible. Did anyone have any live questions for Doug on what they can focus on in the next couple months? Please drop them in the chat or the Q&A. We'll wait a second to see if anything comes in, but otherwise, like I said, we're going to send that recap email. Oh, thanks, Doug. Dropping a couple more links in the chat for everybody.
Yeah, any questions that anybody has? Be happy to answer. We're doing my best.
Well, I hope everyone can take the message that there's still plenty of time to get something together. I know stuff is selling out. Everyone's scrambling to find something, and so you're in a great position to take advantage of that. Okay, well, if we don't have any questions, please feel free to send them later, and we will do our best to answer those. Thank you so much, Doug, for joining us today. And like I said, we'll send out that recap so everyone has those materials in case you do have any follow-ups. But thank you, Doug, for your time today. We really, really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. It was a lot of fun. Hope we helped everybody.
Yes, yes. All right, well, let's get to work. Thanks, everybody.